Good morning. Happy King of Diamonds Day. I'm sorry, King of Hearts Day. What am I talking about? Ugh. I was just looking at the King of Diamonds. But it's actually King of Hearts Day. So it was super appropriate to talk about Diddy this morning because that's the card of his name. It's, at least his first name. So, good morning. So a couple of people asked, a couple of people brought up about the King of Hearts and its lack of fulfillment, right? And, when you really delve into cardology, you start reading things backwards and forwards and stuff like that, right? So in a direct line, there's not much to speak about why the King of Hearts is may suffer from a lack of fulfillment. They will suffer from a lack of fulfillment in a lot of things, in relationships, not just money, right? It will be hard for them to essentially find happiness and contentment. You know what I mean? Well, the reason is they are Venus. They have a Venus connection to the Nine of Spades. And the Nine of Spades is the card of spiritual fulfillment. You know what I mean? So essentially, with the Nine of Spades, ultimately, the only thing that really becomes fulfilling to a Nine of Spades is spirituality. You know what I mean? Because what happens with a Nine of Spades, when you have a Nine of Spades, you will get success. But you will go through so much. You will go through so much pain, so much angst, so much everything. It will drain the life out of you. You know what I mean? I call it the true Cinderella card. Because people don't look at Cinderella and realize that in the story of Cinderella, she suffered, right? Before she got her Prince Charming, right? So before she got her Prince Charming and her new life as a princess, queen, or whatever, she suffered a lot of abuse at the hands of her family, right? So the only family she had her scrubbing floors and hating life, right? So, but then she transformed into the princess. So that's what happens with the Nine of Spades. The Nine of Spades is suffering, and then they transform into the princess. But I always call the Nine of Spades like the card of a Pyrrhic victory. You know what I mean? So it's like when you finally arrive, you're so bitter, really, or angry, or just tired, and you can't really enjoy fully the life that you've now acquired, or even super appreciate. I mean, you appreciate it, but you don't. It's still like, man, fuck this. I had to lose my leg. I had to get sick. I had to get cancer, and I had to do this, and I had that. I went through all these things, and I lost people. And look at me now. I'm rich and successful, but I still lost people. I still suffered. You know what I mean? So that's what the Nine of Spades does, right? It's purification, true purification. You know what I mean? So you have to find spirituality, you have to find some sort of spiritual basis now for living so that you can not be bitter. You know what I mean? About all of the fucked up things you went through to get to where you are. So fast forward to the King of Hearts, right? So the King of Hearts is Venus, has a Venus connection to the Nine of Spades. Not only a Venus connection, it is also their supportive karma card. So what that means is the first part of their life, is under the influence of the nine of spades, very strong, right? So oftentimes the king of hearts, they're giving, doling out, people want from them, you know what I mean? They're going to be responsible for a lot of people in some way because, quote unquote, ain't this like the head of the family or whatever, the head of whatever group they are in. So even the king of hearts treats everything like a family. Even if they are the boss of a business, that business is going to be treated like their family. They're going to be the quote-unquote father figure of the business. And everybody who's a part of that business is going to be family. You know what I mean? So this is some real mafia-style business, right? And the thing about that is you now become responsible for all these people. And all these people are going to be drawing from you, taking energy from you, needing from you, and not necessarily giving back. Okay? So now we're talking about the life of a king of hearts, right? They bring along so many people, so many dependents. They'll even have a lot of dependents. They'll have a lot of children. A lot of king of hearts men, like Future, whatever, right? They got gobs of children, which are more dependents. So with the king of hearts, everybody becomes a dependent. So it's easy to see how they can abuse people because, then I'm not saying all king of hearts abuse people, but I'm saying the ones who do. It's easy to see how they can abuse people because pretty much everybody around them is their child. You know what I mean? So if they're only used to disciplining children, they're going to discipline adults too because everybody is their child. Everybody is acting like their child. Everybody is dependent on them for something. You know what I mean? So now you have the Grim Reaper side of the Nine of Spades. There's a Grim Reaper side too. Yep. Cassie was a king of hearts as well. Absolutely. Right? But being she was young, a young king of hearts is more like a jack of hearts. Okay, you know what I mean? But we'll get into that. So anyway, and you can see the jack aspects of Cassie, the jack of hearts. They used to say that only men could be a jack, but not in the Aquarian age. Guess what? In the Aquarian age, women can be jacks too. So you have Cassie, who was and during this time really a jack of hearts, very inexperienced, super duper in love. And you know what? A jack of hearts woman will paint over the worst character of a man. You know what I mean? Like really. She will really overlook that. She'll come up with lots of excuses why he is the way he is. And da 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 da. So the king of hearts, like I was saying, everybody becomes a dependent in their life. The whole entire world, whoever their world is. If they're the head of a company, everybody's their dependent. Everybody is their family. So they will call you family. You know what I mean? And you even hear Diddy calling people familiar terms of people. I mean, even though he called other men daddy, but that I would say with a king of hearts, daddy. Yeah, daddy is a word that's used, it's associated with the king of hearts. And so you'll find people, even, someone's calling them a dad or daddy or daddy-o, or there were all types of slang that associate with daddy come out of the king of hearts. You know what I mean? So daddy is really daddy, really people's fathers. They really depend on him. They depend on him for money. They depend on him to support them, take care of their lifestyle, make them feel safe, all of that. You know what I mean? So, but that is like putting one big noose around your neck. having too many dependents of any kind is too much for people. You know what I mean? It becomes too much. So now you feel as though there's no one really for you, per se, but everybody is now leeching off of you. You know what I mean? So it's a tremendous amount of stress. So what King of Hearts will do is they'll go to drugs and alcohol, or even sex, but mainly drugs and alcohol. They'll go to drugs and alcohol to deal with the pressures of having to be available to everybody, emotionally available, overly available to everybody, which is just the life that they've created for themselves. Right? So, and I'm adding this aspect on to the fact that he was a 3 of diamonds, which is stressful enough for Diddy. Being a 3 of diamonds is super stressful enough. But talking about the King of Hearts part, adding that on to him, right? Yeah, that's why it's super important. Boundaries are super important when it comes to this energy. Boundaries meaning saying no. So what you get is, with the King of Hearts, is you get people who also need to say no and set boundaries. You know what I mean? So they need to learn that lesson. So they're getting beat up, aka Cassie, aka whatever, because whomever else, because they need to learn to say no. They need to speak up. They need to learn to shut it down, that it ain't worth it. All the money in the world ain't worth this. Which is what the King of Hearts will learn too. All the money in the world ain't worth this. There has to be more. So this is why I call the King of Hearts the Babalawo, or the Awo, right? They're supposed to become priests. They're supposed to become, they need to become awos. They need to become initiated. They even have a Jack of Spades in Saturn, which is a card of the spiritual initiate. They need to become initiated, right? Because what initiation will do is strengthen their boundaries, right? Strengthen their boundaries by exposing them to the spiritual path. Exposing them to the spiritual path by forcing them to work one-on-one with spirits, to make decisions with spirits, so that they don't make emotional decisions. Because King of Hearts make emotional decisions. That's the huge problem. Making emotional decisions. You know what I mean? So it's a tough path. And, kind of back to what I said about the names. The names are important, y'all. Names are important. Names are super important. I'm working on a name book just because of it. Just because of it. You know what I mean? Let me open this up real quick. Hold on real quick. Names are important. Super important. You're evoking 2 different energies right here, y'all. 2 different energies with that name. And likely they had 2 different kind of mothers. 2 mothers who were in 2 different types of places. You know what I mean? Likely Diddy had a mother who was in a much more emotional place than Jay-Z did. Jay-Z's mother was probably more in a practical place and a get money place in her mind when she named him Sean with that spelling. And his mother named him Sean with that spelling because she had a lot of emotional turmoil going on at the time when she was carrying him. Now, Jay-Z's mom may have had financial turmoil going on. She may have had financial turmoil. But guess what happens with a King of Diamonds when they have financial turmoil? When they fix that financial turmoil, they good. They're good for a long time. A king of diamonds needs to have a strong foundation, a strong base, a strong, stable base. And then from there, they can grow, they can grow, they can grow, they can grow. You know what I mean? But for a king of hearts, is something so much more deeper. It's grounded in healing. It's grounded in healing the world. It's grounded in healing yourself. It's grounded in healing your generations. Like generations, like healing generational curses. Like it's a huge burden. It's almost like the inability to move forward because you're solving problems. You're solving karmic problems from the past. Generational problems. It's a lot on your shoulders. A lot. So you have to seek spirituality. You have to seek the answers to your existence, to purpose, to destiny, to how you properly interact with people. All Jay got to do is be a businessman, be a master of his finances, be creative, support his family, take care of his family. It's like the easy shit, honestly. It's really the easier path. The negative side of the King of Diamonds is the avoidance of greed. You know what I mean? Not being too greedy. That is the negative side. But in my opinion, the consequences are a lot less severe. So, these two were obviously destined for great things. They were kings. They were in some way, form, or fashion named, born on a king day, named on a king day, named a king, whatever. They were destined for greatness. They were. There's no doubt about that. They were destined to be in the public doing some type of business or whatever. But Diddy had more of a risk of his emotions destroying that. That's what it is. It's cardology. Peace.